All right, greetings. Welcome back to Blackburn News, where everything is connected. And good to see you. Thanks for being here. It's another day, another news cycle. And Sam is coming down with Trump derangement. He's had Trump derangement syndrome. That's already been. I thought that was established. I know this is my knee. You want to see my knee in the picture? Probably not. Yeah, I don't. I mean, it's an interesting thing. I think, you know, I like Sam a lot. And I think he has really clear takes on a lot of things. But he always has been a Trump, a vociferous, vehement, vocal, vigilant Trump hater since the very beginning. So you can count on Sam to call him every single name in the book every time he says the name Trump. But it's all good. That's just his take on it. But how y'all doing? Good to see you. We're live on Rockfin. Hello, Rockfinners. We're live on Rumble. Hello, Rumblers. Hello, we're live on YouTube. Yeah. No, but see, that's the thing is he won't wear, Sam understands that COVID was a ruse. And so I think Sam lost a lot of people because he didn't follow the liberal, don the face mask and get a vaccine as soon as humanly. I think he vocally was against it. So I'm saying is, like everyone, on the planet. He's a mixed bag, right? Like you can't really put people in boxes too much because they'll surprise you and jump out of the box and go, "Ha, surprise." I don't believe that all the things you thought I was going to believe, which is probably how you should deal with everybody. All right, let's get into it because time is a wasting, y'all. So Trump started off with the tariffs are kicking in, and everybody is feeling, well, because in the immediate, it's not gonna be, it's gonna cause some pain, which Trump said it's gonna cause some pain, and I don't like pain. Nobody likes pain, so I don't necessarily think that's a good thing. And yeah, in the immediate, it is going to cause some pain, and it's already causing pain in the stock market. The stock market it's been tanking for the last couple of weeks, but still bumping up around the all-time highs. So it's kind of a strange situation where the stock market has reached all-time highs and yet has been continuously tanking for the last couple of weeks. But if you're paying attention, what happens is the stock market tanks during the day and then goes back up at night, and then tanks again during the day and goes back up at night. So it looks, if you're just following it during, if you're tuning in the morning, it's going down again. So there's that. But crypto's been tanking. Everything's been tanking today. More tanking. Yesterday, tanking. Lots of tanking. Probably all week tanking. So just get ready for tanking. Let's see. Let's look at this. Yeah, if you're a long-time holder of anything, get ready for tanking. I myself don't trust Jack, so staying out of it for the most part. All right. U.S. stock markets fall after tariffs spark trade war fears. Stock market falls in the U.S. The president has followed through on a threat to impose 25% tariffs on imports into the U.S. from Canada and Mexico and a 20% levy against goods arriving from China. Move drew swift retaliation, including from Canada, where Prime Minister Justin Trudeau warned Trump his decision to target the U.S. neighbor and close trade partner was a very dumb thing to do. Trump responded with a threat to further tariffs against the country. Oh, yeah, take that. Yeah. This is, grown folk stuff here. Leading stock indexes in the U.S. were trading lower on Tuesday, marking a second day of declines, while markets in the UK, Germany, and France all closed down. Trump is hoping that imposing tariffs on the goods the U.S. buys will force foreign companies to invest in America, boost tax revenues, and grow the economy. It's kind of a long-term, if you want to go beyond, put your money in Dogecoin. I don't know about that. I don't know. At one time I did. Actually, I made, during COVID, I struck oil with Dogecoin. But I wouldn't put any money on Dogecoin right now. At one time, it might have been a good investment. Let's see. So it's kind of a long-term plan. This is not in the short term, it's something that people are, definitely going to feel and going to be upset about. And that's, yep. Still, yes, a lot of people are banking on silver and gold. That's why it's been going up quite a bit. It's a long-term plan, and it's supposed to end up well, but in the immediate, it's not going to go well for people, and so people are rightly upset about it for sure. Tariffs tend to trigger retaliation from targeted countries. In response to Trudeau's criticism of tariffs and Canada's countermove, Trump wrote, "Please explain to Governor Trudeau of Canada." He's calling him Governor Trudeau. Trump likes to really mess with people by calling them, like putting a name on them and then calling them that continually. Governor meaning Canada's the 51st state and he's the governor of the 51st state, and that's what he's implying, which is, mildly comedic. Please explain to Governor Trudeau of Canada that when he puts on a retaliatory tariff on the U.S., our reciprocal tariff will immediately increase by a like amount. So take that. Nah. Trump has also threatened to impose 25% tariffs on the EU, claiming that the bloc was formed to screw the United States, et cetera, et cetera. The analysts have warned that tariffs could lead to economic recessions in Mexico and Canada. So this is key point to understand, is that this is actually going to hurt. This may hurt us some, but it's going to hurt them more. And there's a really good, I'm going to play some, I'm going to play a video that explains a little bit about this. Where'd she go? So let's listen to this.
The most insane trade war has officially begun because Canada, Mexico, and China are pissed and have now all announced their own plans on how to retaliate against Trump's tariffs. So what the hell is going on? Well, you see, yesterday Trump's promised 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico and 10% on China officially kicked in. What that means is that any goods sent from these countries to the United States will now cost companies 25% more, or 10% in China's case. So for example, if a Canadian business sent a car to the US that cost $50,000, today US companies will pay a $12,500 tariff at the border. So the price of your once $50,000 car is now actually $62,500. Why would Trump purposefully make things more expensive for Americans? Well, two main reasons. The first is more of a longer-term, unguaranteed benefit, but it would be to change consumer habits to buy more American-made products and incentivize more international companies to manufacture in the US. In theory, that means a stronger US economy, more stable jobs, and less dependence on foreign countries. The second reason for imposing these tariffs would be to use them as a tool to pressure Canada, Mexico, and China into doing what Trump wants. Some of these things that he's publicly mentioned include renegotiating trade deals, stopping illegal immigration, and the flow of fentanyl. There's also the far-fetched idea of Canada becoming a state of America. But here's where things get interesting, because instead of just doing what Trump wants, Canada
and Mexico becoming affiliated with, that is not far-fetched, and it's interesting that he slipped that in there, but whatever.
It's clapped back with a 25% tariff of their own, and Mexico said they're doing the same but haven't announced the percentage yet. China reacted a little differently by preparing to file a lawsuit with the World Trade Organization. So why is Trump not backing down? Just listen to this. In 2023, Canada sent 76% of all of their exports to the United States. That accounts for roughly 19% of their entire GDP. In 2024, Mexico sent 78% of all of their exports to the United States. That makes up 37% of their entire GDP. But for America, their exports to both countries combined only make up roughly 2.7% of their entire GDP. So simply put, even if they do retaliate, getting into a tariff war with the United States would hit Canada and Mexico much harder. Trump knows this. and he's using it.
Yeah. So interesting bit of gamesmanship going on by Trump with this. So again, it's the longer term. The theory behind this is that you're going to pressure these companies to do whatever, to do what you want. But in a longer term, in the economic sense, as they indicated in the article prior, if you cause a recession in both countries or damage the economy in both countries, well, you make them weaker. Trump is not kidding about, let me tell you that Trump is not kidding about Canada becoming another state. He hasn't mentioned anything about Mexico, but trust me, he's been talking about Greenland. He's been talking about Canada, and trust me, they'll be talking about Mexico pretty soon because they want a North American Union. I don't know. I just wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I know people would be like, oh my God, what's happening? The world as we know it is careening out of orbit. I know that would be, and it would be a massive shift, a massive sea change, a political, global economic shift if, there was a North American Union. But, I think that he is dead serious about that. And so if you don't see it happen in his term, he's setting the stage for it to happen, sooner than later. So this trade war, especially with Canada and Mexico, could be part of that program. If you weaken them economically, I mean, that's massive. The amount of exports they have coming into America, they rely, 75% or so of each country, their exports are going to America. I mean, that's a ton of trade. That is a ton of trade. So if you slow that down and impede that is really going to hit them hard. And so, who knows where this is going to end up. It's just interesting times we live in, right? Yeah, that's true. Denver. Yeah. The stock market was at all-time highs when the Great Depression hit. Yep. It was at all-time highs before the Great Recession, right? In 2008. Things were higher than ever. And that's one of the reasons why that's one of the reasons why everybody had too much confidence prior to the Great Recession. Everybody was like, things are great. You were minting, millionaires and billionaires everywhere, and people were buying up homes, and, the economy was flying high, and all of a sudden, whammo. John Glad says soon we'll be fighting the Chinese troops in Canada. I don't know. That's a scary thought. The Greater Israeli American Project. Yeah. Well, I was thinking about, what is the ultimate goal of the Greater Israel Project, right? Is there going to be you have all these blocks forming, and the EU is definitely a block, right? The EU, you have like Russia and its satellite states. You have, what could be, you have the Middle East, which Israel is trying to, kind of put its tentacles around and go like, maybe this is all ours, and we're helping them do that. So you could see that block forming. These are huge global power shifts. So we'll see. All right. So, man, James Lee is really digging really hard into, stocked up on hemp seeds, Salipa. Yeah. South Park predicted the hot war with Canada. Yeah. I mean, man, don't, just be prepared for, we already, you think it's crazy now? Do you think it's crazy now? It's going to get, do you know they're like sending troops to Mexico? They're sending troops to the border. Like this is a thing that people are not really talking about, out in the major, but like, Trump has been threatening Mexico and the cartels in Mexico. And they've been, there have been shootouts supposedly with border patrol and cartels, and they're sending like actual like armed divisions to the border of Mexico. I mean, just, anything could be happening in the next couple of years. Like, just, strap in. That's all I got to say. I don't want to see any of that. I like, regular, steady, everything going the way it's going. I like things to just stay the way they are. I don't want things to change. Personally, I like, I like consistency myself. I kind of rely on it in order to do life shit, but, and I think everybody does. I think, I think that's half the reason why people are so, absolutely, freaked out by any kind of change whatsoever, any kind of, major shifts to how things are, happening. Like, it freaks people out because people like regular, normal, consistent days where they wake up and everything's the same, right? And if anything changes and you're like, oh my God, how am I going to do anything? Hey, I'm that person too. Trump got that from Landman. Oh yeah. That's funny going south, because I'm watching that show and it's kind of coalescing a lot with that show, which is interesting, right? Because they're warring with the cartels and bringing in the military, and that is a very interesting, correlation, I guess. I just finished Landman. I think I just finished the season. Good show, by the way. I mean, it's got problems. It's an okay show. It's a pretty good show. Billy Bob is pretty good. There are some things about it that are kind of ridiculous, but Denver says, instead of monopolies deciding who gets what territories of a region state, they're discussing who gets each market of each country. Yeah. John Glad says, beans, rice, bullets. Yep. If you want to know what are good investments, those, sure. All right. James Lee going deep again on the homeless funding scam going on in California. Man, he's really been cranking it out, and he's been uncovering. At this point, you could just consider all of the homeless funding just a big black money pit, a big money laundering scheme, because it seems like what he's uncovering is that almost nothing is being done to alleviate the suffering of the homeless. Almost nothing. I didn't say nothing, but almost nothing. And but somebody is getting all of this money. I wonder who. And it's always 10% to the big guy. There's always a kickback involved in sending the money out, having it laundered, and then having it come back in various forms. James Lee, 4 years ago, LA spent $17 million to turn an old Venice hotel into a homeless shelter. 4 years later, it's still sitting empty, housing exactly 0 people. In this case, nothing, right? In this case, the benefit to the homeless is nothing. $17 million, nothing. Where did $17 million go? Is the pertinent question I hope, in everybody's minds. At best, it's a colossal failure. At worst, it's corruption at its highest level of LA city government.
The city of Los Angeles gave $17 million to a homeless nonprofit in Venice, California to house exactly 0 people. So back in December of 2020, the city of LA purchased this Ramada Inn in Venice, California in order to turn it into a homeless shelter. And here is that paperwork: Ramada Inn Marina Homeless Shelter, address 3130 Washington Boulevard, Venice, California. The details of that deal: LA City Council authorized funds to purchase the 33-room Ramada Inn for $10 million, which was then sold to Path for $1. That's not a bad deal for Path, which is a homeless nonprofit. It stands for People Assisting the Homeless. This is their website. You can join the movement, whatever that means. Anyway, the CEO of Path is Jennifer Hart Dietz. Here she is with our esteemed Governor Gavin Newsom, looking like they're up to some serious business. One of them being this former Ramada Inn project that we're talking about, $17 million for 33 units. And here's how that's going. Quote, despite significant funding, the former Ramada Inn has remained empty since October 2022, contradicting earlier reports of occupancy. The total investment in the project exceeds $17 million, with $4.8 million earmarked for renovations, averaging $515,000 per unit. And speaking of costs, the annual taxpayer-subsidized salary of Jennifer Hart Dietz is $379,000 a year. And this is according to Path's most recent
Almost
IRS
$500,000 a year.
form. And Path tells us that the Path Villas opening has been delayed until first quarter of 2025 due to repeated corrections needed for building and safety permits. Although boots on the ground reporting from a homeless advocate named Roofless tells us that the opening has been, quote, delayed indefinitely.
Wow.
Super. Follow me if you want to help me track down and uncover the who and where the missing $24 billion of homeless funding has gone to.
Where has it gone? Because James Lee has been covering this, and he's finding that, so far what he's found is literally nothing going to house homeless people. So, but one day he might stumble across some actual homeless housing, maybe. But it's wild. Okay, again from James Lee. Here's another, and this is along the lines of, this strikes near and dear to environmentalists. I don't know, needs and wants, wish lists, or something. But there's a fight, I guess, between the ranchers and people who want to save the land, but it seems like a bit of a strange story. So I'm going to read this. This is not a video. Because as it turns out, the cattle, they kicked the ranchers off once, and then the ranchers and the cattle remained on a lease program, and then they kicked them off. Now they're kicking the ranchers out, but keeping the cattle, which doesn't make a lot of sense. Sushi. I mean, I have questions about a depopulation agenda, but the demolition of the U.S. empire, I don't know. Maybe there seems to be a lot of demolition going on. And I'm still not totally sure about that one. Although, there seems to be a lot of indicators that, they seem to be ruining a lot of people's lives and livelihoods and how things work. So, there's a lot of indicators that, that's a true, incorrect statement. But, I don't know. I think there's a lot of things at play. Let's read this. Gavin Newsom and his allies just forced 12 historic family farms and dairies at a Point Reyes National Seashore in California. They claim it's about saving the environment, but the truth couldn't be more different. Here's the true story, and it's heartbreaking. For over 100 years, ranchers and dairy farmers have worked the land at Point Reyes. They built Marin's organic food movement and supplied fresh milk to Californians. Now they're being forced out by environmental groups, the federal government, and Newsom's political allies. When Congress created Point Reyes National Seashore in 1962, ranchers voluntarily sold their land to the federal government under one condition: they could keep ranching. Sounds like a bargain. That promise lasted 60 years until powerful environmental groups decided to change the rules. This is why you really have to be, you got to have a jaundiced eye for these environmental groups, because a lot of them are posing as environmental groups, but they have very, very powerful backers and other interests. In 2022, 3 environmental groups, Resource Renewal Institute, Center for Biological Diversity, you guys know them, and Western Watersheds Project, sued the National Park Service to block 20-year ranching leases. The lawsuit set off a chain reaction that led to ranchers losing everything. At first, the National Park Service defended the ranchers, but then the Nature Conservancy, you guys know them as well, a $1 billion nonprofit with deep political ties to Newsom, stepped in to negotiate a secret deal. That's interesting. The result, a $30 million payout to ranchers who had no real choice but to leave. Maybe we should all be very, very wary of these environmental groups that are posing as just helping. The $30 million payout might sound like a lot until you realize it's being split across multiple families and businesses. You don't want to see the book closed, said rancher Jared Mendoza, whose great-grandfather acquired the family's land in 1919. Mendoza needs financing to rebuild his family's barn, which was destroyed in a storm. But thanks to the park's refusal to grant long-term leases, he couldn't get a loan. Now he's being forced off his land altogether, along with 11 other ranching families. Worse, the farmers were placed under a strict gag order. They legally cannot tell the public how this deal really went down. Begs the question, if this was such a fair outcome, why was it done behind closed doors? Why are the ranchers being silenced? Kind of like, if the vaccine is safe, why do you need an immunity? And here's where, and I mean legal immunity, here's where Biden and Trump come in. And this is interesting. In 2019, Trump signed an executive order to protect farming and national parks. In 2021, Biden reversed it. The final deal was reached in early January 2025, just weeks before Donald Trump took office on January 20th, 2025. Who brokered the deal? Representative Jared Huffman, who represents Point Reyes. Before Congress, he was an attorney for the NRDC, a powerful environmental lobbying group. So he was negotiating for his constituents, or was he negotiating for his constituents or for the same activists who wanted the ranchers gone? But this isn't about protecting nature. It's about business, politics, and ideology. The Park Service now admits it will have to hire private grazing contractors to manage the land and reduce wildfire risk. So cattle can stay, just not the families who raised them. Make it make sense. The environmental group sold this as a win for conservation, but the reality, it was a quiet land transfer, one that just happened to benefit some of the most politically connected nonprofits in the country. And once these farms are gone, they're gone forever. And a matter of time before we see some, developments going up in this area. Makes you wonder, does PG&E play a role in the land ownership and easements in this area? Sierra Pacific Industries owns California's largest landowner, holding 1.74 million acres. Okay. So that's an interesting story. And I don't necessarily believe that this was a win for the environment. It doesn't make a lot of sense considering they're going to keep the cattle there anyways. So what was the problem with the ranchers there? Land grab. All right. All right. We've got some more things to cover here. If you like the show, if you appreciate, oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, and I meant to say it in the beginning of the show, but I will remind you guys through the week. I'm allowed to go live on Substack. So Substack is a go for Friday, this Friday. A bunch of you have already subscribed to my Substack, and thank you for doing that. So on Friday, we're going to do a Substack only live stream. So you need to be on the Substack. I don't know if you need to have the Substack app to watch it, or if you can watch it on a browser. Not sure. But just in case, I think you probably watch it on a browser. So on Friday, if you're not subscribed already, if you're not tuned into the Black Bear News Substack, please go over there, subscribe or whatever, and just, know where it is, bookmark it if you need to. And we will do a Substack only live stream on Friday at the same time at 12 p.m. All right. All right. And if you're not subbed yet, go over there and subscribe, please, because we need to make arrangements for getting out information on other platforms. All right. All right. Okay, more on Newsom. I thought I was done with the Newsom segment. This is interesting. Can't seem to get to this. This is I just picked this up right before I started the show. Gavin Newsom in California just quietly put back in place some emergency water regulations that Donald Trump ordered to be ended, and even sent the military in to turn the water back on. Did Donald Trump do that, or Gavin Newsom? I'm confused about this. The wording of the sentence doesn't really make that clear. The State Water Board yesterday readopted their emergency regulations, which will restrict water usage on my farm and all through Northern California. Somebody needs to get a hold of Trump, and what he's doing is not going to work. These guys are just going to go right around him. The water wars have started. Somebody really needs to get in touch with Trump on what's going on. Okay, so this is me just reading this post. Okay, I'm going to play this. I'm playing this because it's interesting. No, on Friday it will be Substack only. No Rumble, no YouTube, no Rockfin, nothing. Just Substack. We're just trying to get people over to Substack just on Friday. And, on the other days I'll be, in all the other spots. Because also I'm just going from the Substack app is the only way I can live stream. I can't really do it I can't do it from the Rockfin studio. I mean, the Rumble studio. I have to do it just from Substack. So that's why it's Substack only. Okay. You can watch on your browser. Okay. That's good to know. Yeah. So for people that don't want to download the app or don't have the app on their phone, you can watch on a browser. All right. Let's listen to this dude here.
Well, the water wars have started. Somebody really needs to get in touch with Trump on what's going on. The State Water Board yesterday readopted their emergency regulations, which will restrict water usage on my farm and all through Northern California. So somebody needs to get hold of Trump, and what he's doing is not going to work. These guys are just going right around him, because he doesn't know. So somebody either tag him in this video. We need to make many videos to somehow get him aware of what they're doing. Well, the water wars have started.
Okay, well, that's interesting.
Really
it's just one person stating this, so taking this at face value, and I don't know that this is. I don't know if it's other people are saying this or experiencing this. like one person in one video doesn't mean something's actually true or not, but we're assuming this is true. And I guess, I had heard something about Trump coming in and like opening up water availability in California. I didn't know if that was true or not, but according to this video, if all of what he's saying is true, then that was true. So interesting that they're just going back and reinstating the regulations or restrictions, if you will. That's been ongoing for a long time though. In California, this has been a big subject for forever, is that they have been restricting water to farmers in California. And there have been water wars for a long time. But this has been a thing, an ongoing issue. It didn't just start. It's been happening for quite a while. This post came out today that all the I guess Trump is supposed to address Congress tonight. And so all the Democrats came out and basically read a script about how bad everything is. That's good compliment. So apparently they're all saying the same thing. You can't really tell. But there's another one with like just 3 people, and it's a little more easy to understand that they're saying the same thing. Democrat senators released identical scripted anti-Trump videos ahead of Trump's speech. I mean, would you expect any less? I mean, it's all a bunch of fake theater anyways, but of course, when there's a Democratic president, or, then Republicans do all their things and they get together and they like have their, anti-Biden or whoever little caucus and do their they play their Republican games, and the Democrats are going to do the same. So this is just, I don't know that this is anything really profound, but this is interesting though. Democrats, the internet is forever. Here's Bill Clinton saying that he trusted Putin in private, and when they spoke in private, he always kept his word. So, I guess they're playing this because everybody's saying, Trump is crazy for talking to Putin. Putin is Hitler, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, there was very different takes in the past about Putin. Here's Bill Clinton, a Democratic president who seemed to have a really good rapport with Putin. Was he a Putin puppet or Putin's buddy? Was he did he have loans that from Russian oligarchs that they were calling in? Did they, was he owned by? Nobody was saying that about Bill Clinton. Could all of that be true about Trump? Maybe. Let's listen. Or try.
Mr. Putin he's very smart.
Well, you know him better than most people.
Yeah, I do.
What was he like behind closed doors, away from, the sort of the public utterances?
Smart and remarkably, we had a really good, blunt relationship.
How blunt?
Brutally blunt.
Ever fisticuffs?
No, but I think the right strategy most of the time but it's frustrating to people in your line of work. You should be brutally honest with people in private. And then if you want them to help you, try to avoid embarrassing them in public.
Right.
Now, sometimes they do things which make it impossible for you to keep quiet. But by and large, I found all the people I dealt with appreciated it if I told them the truth. How I honestly felt and what our interests were and what our objectives were. And they also appreciated it when I didn't kick them around in public for as long as I couldn't kick them around. So that's my experience. And
did Putin ever renege on a personal agreement he made to you?
He did not.
So behind closed doors, he could be trusted.
He kept his word.
Okay, so there's Bill Clinton speaking super highly of Putin, and they talk to each other because that's what I guess leaders of country do, is talk to each other. I'm just pointing out that it's a little bit ridiculous. This is in no way, shape, or form a resounding endorsement of Trump. I'm just saying it's a little silly. The whole Trump's talking to Putin. I mean, everybody talks. That's what they're supposed to do. If they don't do that, I don't know. Whatever. But just everybody has historical amnesia, and nobody can base their opinions on anything other than what happened in the last 5 minutes. Nobody has context or nuance. It's just like emotional blarg. All right. Okay. You guys are funny. I got sidetracked on Substack. But anyways, if you guys like the show, if you like watching the show for free 99 Monday through Friday, and you want to support the show, you want to see the show continue to go and keep on going and keep on coming to you for free, then your support is greatly appreciated. And you can support in the description box below any of the platforms you're watching on. There are a bunch of links where you can donate to the show. All the usuals are there: Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, Zelle, Buy Me a Coffee, Ko-Fi. Am I missing any? I don't know. Patreon, stuff like that. Zaliba, better an ally, right? Yeah. I mean, isn't it better if we get along with Russia than if we're at odds? I mean, they have nuclear weapons and so do we. So I would think that it'd be better to cooperate. Going back to Landman going south, right? The last scene of the show, when he's, some renegade cartel guys kidnap his ass. Sorry if I'm giving away the show or the plot or part of it. Well, anyways, the head, the higher ups in the cartel come in and rescue Billy Bob. And they're like, hey, it's way better if we are getting along than if we're fighting with each other. This is how, large nuclear powers should interact with each other, not be, not find reasons to be at war, but find reasons to cooperate and be at peace, right? Because it helps everybody, et cetera, et cetera. George Bush looked into Putin's soul. That's right. He did. Okay. So yeah, thanks for supporting you guys. And for those that support, you know who you are. I appreciate you. I try to say thank you when I can. All right, a few more things to talk about before we go. Measles, back on measles. This is an interesting conversation. This is Aaron Siri, who's a smart guy. And he's going to tell you about what was happening with measles pre the measles vaccine, which came in the nick of time and saved so many lives. Safe and effective. Here we go. I'm gonna just stop it right there. And for all the libertarian, agorist, anarchists, and public health authorities should take credit, right? Public doing things for the public good. Oh my God, socialism! Run for the hills, everybody! Oh, these social programs are so terrible. Doing good things for the people. Oh God, save us! Like, okay. Anyways, here's Aaron Siri saying, public health officials, doing, public works for the public good of the public. It's called, yeah.
Year 1900, this is all on the CDC website, what I'm about to tell you. And the year 1960, 61, 62, the years before the first measles vaccine in America, 1963, the mortality rate for measles declined by over 98%. Yes, by over 98%. That is, you can just go pull up the mortality data on the CDC website. This is uncontroversial. It's just data, what I just said. Some people get emotional about it, but it's just data, what I just said.
Why would they get emotional?
Well, for the reasons we just discussed. That decline had nothing to do with vaccines. You know how I know? There was no measles vaccine. That's how I know.
What caused that decline?
I think that in part it's the public health health authorities should take a lot of credit for that.
Nutrition, sanitation.
Better sanitation, clean water, getting sewage running out of the streets. Right. All of these things. Initiatives to make sure that there's natural light. Like, remember all the tenement buildings?
Yes.
All these initiatives, even basic things like quarantine. Oh, if you're sick, not the kind of forced kind of stay at home stuff that we're talking about. Just if you're sick, hey, maybe you should stay at home in bed kind of stuff. And so that decline, over 98%. You know how many people died in the few years, an average a year before there was the first measles vaccine in 1963, when pockets of this country were still like the developed world? Around 400 Americans a year died. That's 1 in 500,000 Americans died of measles in the years before they were vaccinated. Every death's a tragedy. And measles can still kill people just like any virus can in parts of the world that are really underdeveloped. Any virus can kill children, adults. And there were still pockets of America in the early 60s that were like that. But that declining rate of mortality, it was a trajectory that was ongoing, even when the measles vaccine was introduced in 63. So those 400 deaths, which have now gone down, how much of that is attributable to measles vaccine? How much of it is to the continued efforts of public health agencies, right? That could be debated forever. We don't need to. But the important point is this. Long way to answer your question is this. When you listen to public health authorities today, they will say to you, measles is what caused the decline. Measles vaccine is what caused the decline in mortality. They never talk about those other things that they did.
So there you go. And there might have been a time when public health officials actually did things for the public good and not to line their pockets or appease the wishes of the corporations that run the world at the moment, right? Yeah. Yep. The weekend was invented by during the New Deal, right? Allowing people to rest. 8-hour work days, 40-hour work weeks, overtime pay, all the things, right? We can go down the list. On and on. And people like these things. And every time they're taken away, people are like, boop. Aghast. Pay is lower than ever. Rents are higher than ever. The wealth gap is higher than ever. And people wonder, well, what's going on? Well, because you've chopped down the thing that clawed back the Gilded Age, right? The Gilded Age is where we're headed, not where it was something in the past that we came out of. But we're quickly going towards another Gilded Age, or already in another Gilded Age. Why? Because we clawed back all of those things that helped even the playing field. That was called socialism. If you know anything about history. When people did things, for the public good, or tried to do things for the public good, did they do everything perfectly? Were they the greatest, most upstanding, just, honest players in every single thing and deed and word they said? No, they're not. They weren't. But they tried. They tried. I mean, Lyndon Johnson was one of the most despicable political players that ever lived, and might be involved in might have been a hand in the demise of the president prior to him, but he, was a fan of the Great Society and, helped pass even more, social welfare programs and, tried to uplift people. I mean, people, there was a time when people had some altruistic intentions, alongside of their power, power grabbing intentions, but whatever. And I don't know. It's kind of how humans operate, I think. Not all humans, but it's a feature. People want to act like it's a bug, but that shit is a feature. Like, if you haven't noticed. Anyways. It'd be great if we could evolve and just become, beautiful, peaceful, cooperative humans, and everything would be great and utopian. I mean, I wouldn't mind that. A lot of people would enjoy living in a paradise or something closer to a paradise. But the way that humans operate is there's a couple out there generally that are going to be like, you know what I could do? Just people that are just too busy. You need to sit down somewhere. All right. That's true. That's true, Joseph. Yes. All right. What else have we got? Got a little bit of Denver sent me this. Japan's worst wildfire in half a century spreads. So interesting. I mean, when we, again, out of season, off season wildfires causing, and I know people don't like to believe that the planet is changing in ways that could be detrimental to going forward with business as usual, but it seems awfully odd that there's crazy wildfires going on in Japan in the very early March when it should be plenty cold there. Like this is something that you probably see in the summertime or late summertime, which is the original historical traditional fire season for a lot of places in the Northern Hemisphere. But no, it's early March or it's early January or it's whenever these days. Firefighters Tuesday battling Japan's worst wildfire in half a century, which has left one dead and forced the evacuation of nearly 4,000 local residents. As of Tuesday morning, the wildfire had engulfed 2,600 hectares. The Fire and Disaster Management Agency said over 7 times the area of New York's Central Park. Makes it Japan's largest wildfire since 1975. It is estimated to have damaged at least 80 buildings by Sunday. Details were still being assessed. The number of wildfires in Japan has declined since its 1970s peak, but the country saw about 1,300 in 2023, concentrated in February to April when the air dries and winds pick up. Okay. Good to know. Some types of extreme weather have a well-established link to climate change, such as heat waves or heavy rainfall. Other phenomena like droughts, snowstorms, tropical storms, and forest fires can result from a combination of complex factors. Apparently, it's been very dry in this area. Although, in some parts of Japan, they've been getting record snowfall. So go figure. But again, seems to be a feature of climate change, which is extreme everything all the time. Extreme floods, fires, snowfall, winds, hurricanes, cyclones. Am I missing anything? Heat waves. So it's the renminbi and the dollar are staying pretty pegged still. I mean, yeah, we are joined at the hip as far as trade goes with China. All right. One more. Is that right? One more? I think that's it. Maybe one more story. Researchers sound alarm over disturbing phenomena occurring in Alaska. There definitely seems to be an increase. What? What's happening? Winter was warmer than average for Alaska for the first 2 months of the season. The period of December through January was the state's second warmest on record, a whopping 12 degrees Fahrenheit above average. Through the first weeks of February, Anchorage had received just a trace of snowfall, nearly a foot below average. The city had also received only a little more than 4 inches since December 1st. That means Anchorage's winter snowfall was just over 38 inches below average. An Alaskan TikToker recently shared her frustration about the lack of snowfall in the state, noting her dogs were shedding their winter fur prematurely. A southerly flow of air over the relatively warm Pacific Ocean has made the difference. Nearly half the precipitation in Anchorage through the middle of winter has been rain. As the air flows over that really, really warm water, it warms up more than it used to, according to the National Weather Service climate researcher Brian Brettschneider per Newsweek. So that's one part. And then it holds more moisture because warmer air has the capacity to hold more moisture. Y'all remember that from science class? As the airflow, Brett Schneider pointed out that while warm winters have occurred in the past, their frequency has increased. It has happened before, but it's happened now 3 or 4 times since about the year 2000. So there definitely seems to be an increase in the propensity for that to happen. Why are warm temperatures and lack of snowfall in Alaska important? Do I need to even go further? Because if it becomes a normal occurrence, then it changes all kinds of things. Disrupts all kinds of things ecologically. Don't you understand? All right. A different kind of mush. Yeah, and then you have perma melt happening too. So there's that. Let's see. Don't know if I have anybody to thank today. Gonna check in. And thank you guys for hanging out. Thanks for being here. You all are most gracious and kind. Alaska is going oceanic climate, same as Svalbard and Greenland. Yeah. I mean, and that's real. You're there, right? Going south. You can see it. All right. Doesn't look like it today at the moment. Anyways, thanks guys. Sorry. Should mute my mic for that. So just a reminder. Exactly. So Lipa, anomalies are the new norms. Just a reminder, on Friday, we will be a Substack only live stream on Friday. Only Friday, not the other days, just Friday. So please go on over to the Black Bear News Substack. and subscribe, or just get familiar with being over there. And, but I'll be back here on all the regular platforms tomorrow. Doing a regular broadcast, podcast, whatever you want to call it. But just go on over to Substack, subscribe, and, we'll do that thing on Friday. Okay. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. See you tomorrow. And until next time, peace.
Mm-hmm.